One of the things that sometimes gets a bit confused when you're talking about the Varus disaster or the Teutoburg massacre, which occurred in AD 9, is that it was an ambush. And whilst it was an ambush, that simplifies it a lot more than it necessarily needs to be. So for those that don't know, in AD 9, 3 Roman legions were ambushed and attacked by sort of Germanic tribes. This happened in forested area, it was well planned, and they were wiped out. And what often comes across is this was an ambush, i.e. a singular event where you have this dynamic activity, knockout punch, there we go. But the reality, as I said, was far more complex than that. For example, it took place over sort of 3 days or so, and the battlefield was really quite large. You've got to remember that these 3 legions took up quite a large space in terms of how their marching column. Their marching column was basically strung out, and it was hit at various points. At the end of the first day, they basically regrouped and were able to create a fortified position, which is quite an achievement. I mean, the reality is the Roman legions held on far longer than you might expect, because normally what happens is the minute this sort of thing happens, it's a knockout blow straight away. And perhaps that's why people think that it was an ambush in the traditional sense, in the time scales. And that's what I mean. So it was an ambush. These were a series of ambushes made at various points of the column. Then you have the Romans regrouping in a fortified position. And then it lasts on for about 3 days. So the second day we're not quite clear, but it seems that they move on. But again, they come under heavy attack. And the last point is where they're actually guided into a narrow path where you've got quite a large hill to one side and you've got boggy marshland to the other, and the Germanic tribes have fortified this position beforehand, so they've got a rampart. They're going to attack the Romans from that point. And the term that Dr. Joanne Ball uses, which I think is wonderful and very macabre, is at that point there is tactical disintegration amongst the Roman army. Basically that's it, it's finally over. But the fact that the Roman legions were able to hang on for that length of time is actually a comment in itself. So anyway, I just wanted to pick that up. Now, as you probably tell from what I'm talking about, I'm hoping that something more substantial is going to come out soon, particularly with relation to a podcast episode that I'll be doing. But I haven't yet got around to recording it, and I'm a bit superstitious, so I don't want to jinx it just yet. But there we go. The Varus disaster, Teutoburg massacre. It was not one singular event. It was a series of very nasty events. Well, that was if you were a Roman legionary.